Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to talk about actions. By the end of the video, you will know what kind of actions you want to take in order to get closer to your desire or to manifest your desire, and also the actions that you don't really need to take. I'm going to introduce you three kinds of actions, and first two are the ones that I want you to try, and the last one is the one I want you to avoid. I'll try to make this video very simple so that you can apply this super simply. All right. So the first kind of actions that I want you to take, and this is the shortcut to your desire. Okay, so the number one action that I want you to take is the inspired action. After you decide where you want to be, how you want to be, where you're going, you start feeling like to take certain action. And this action is probably not very supported logically, meaning you probably don't have any logical reason to take this action to get that desire. For example, I told that I want to meet soul family this year. My logical self probably tells me, okay, then I probably should make more YouTube videos, or maybe I should be on multiple platforms, or you know, logical mind would say this kind of things. But right now, I just feel like to clean my room. I just feel like to watch a YouTube video, or I just feel like to read a book. Okay. And all of these actions don't really seem like it's leading to the desire where I want to be logically, but your heart, your soul is giving us a signal of, oh, I think I want to do this. This is the inspired action. So, whenever you feel like, oh, I think I want to do this, and it's very light, and sometimes it's very exciting as well, but it's a very light energy that flows into this kind of action. Whenever you take that kind of actions, you instantly going into the flow, into the zone, and everything just feels smooth, and you would almost go like a meditation mode, I would say. And after doing that action, you probably feel very good. So this is the inspired action. Okay, so this is not your plan, it's your soul's plan, it's your higher self plan. It's a shortcut to wherever that you want to be at, meaning your desire. Your logical part probably will have a resistance in the beginning. Yeah, maybe your higher self tells you to have 2 hours of nap. That's what your higher self tells you. But then your logical self, like, if we have 2 hours, we can, have like multiple things done. Why do we have to take a nap for 2 hours, right? But if that's what your higher self is telling you, if your body is telling you, that's the shortcut. So this is the inspired action, and it's something that I want you to try taking, because as I said, it's the shortcut, the fastest way to your desire. And the second type of action that I'm sharing today is the actions that create less resistance to get that desire or to get closer to your desire. Because of the way we grew up in our society, we probably have this limiting belief of like, I have to do something to get things. Okay, so the easiest example would be, in order to get money, I have to work, right? And from the universe perspective, maybe it's not the truth. Maybe you don't necessarily have to work to get money. However, it's just so natural for us to think, to believe we need to do something to get money, right? So your logical mind will create less resistance when you actually work. Since your belief is, in order to get money, I have to do something, I have to work. If you don't work, you have huge resistance to get money. So, in order to create less resistance to get the money, we work. Okay. And because we worked, we kind of give ourselves permission to get the money. So, maybe this is supported logically and it's affected from your core belief that can be different, that can be changed, maybe. So we can always work on that, like inner parts as well. But by taking that action, you feel less resistant to getting the thing you want. Um, I I like taking these kind of actions. For example, when I was trying to find my husband, now I'm married. But when I was trying to manifest a person to marry to, um, for me, meeting a lot of new people, uh, were the actions that made sense for me. By meeting a lot of people, by creating opportunity to meeting new people, I was creating less resistance within me, to find a right person. Like I could calm down my logical self by taking this kind of actions. And then what happened is really, as I meet more people, I would find something that I want in my partner and something that I don't want in my partner. So it just felt like I know more about what I really want. And that create even less resistance to find the person. So, these kind of actions are also very recommended. And the difference between the inspired action and this kind of actions that create less resistance is really if it's supported logically or not. You don't really know why you want to do that thing if it's an inspired action. You don't really know how it's leading to the desire, but you want to do anyways. Those are inspired actions, and these actions that I'm talking about right now is more like something that your logical self are convinced, um, that the action would take you closer. So after taking this kind of actions, you would feel so much less resistant to getting what you want. It's like, oh, I've done enough. So, like, I'm so ready to get it, right? You can feel how you have so much less resistance, right? Uh, Okay, so this is also recommended. And lastly, the third actions. This is something that I want you to avoid. But this action, it's something that is not aligned with yourself, with your higher self. Okay, and this is very simple. Whenever you think, oh, I have to do this thing in order to get the thing, I must be working on this in order to get this. I need to do this in order to get this. If your sentence starts like this, those actions probably belong to this number three action. And these action ideas are created by your logical mind, logical self, which is affected strongly from your core belief. For example, when I learn a new language, and let's say my desire is to be able to speak this language fluently, the method that works for me the most is really starting from the listening the language, and mimicking them, shadowing them. And once I have the little bit of sense of the language, I start getting into the basics, maybe learn grammar points, vocabulary, right? And then, as I learn these basics, I would apply it in my speaking, from the very beginning, right? And this is the method that works for me, that really is a natural thing for me when learning a language. This is really the way, I enjoy the language the most as well. So this, I would call it a, um, inspired actions, and also maybe the actions that create less resistance, for me to believe that I'm good at or I can speak the language. However, and I don't know if I should say it as a Japanese coach, but I hate learning with textbook myself. When teaching, yes, I really love textbook, and I do use textbooks when teaching Japanese as well. But when I'm learning a language, I hate textbooks. I usually, get one or two, but I never finish textbooks. I never really solve all these questions. But let's say I have a belief of I have to finish at least five textbooks before start speaking the language. And without knowing all these basics perfectly, I can't speak, right? Let's say I have that limiting belief. Then the action I would take is probably like, okay, I really hate working on a textbook, but I will work on it, right? And I feel so resistant to moving on to the next page, but I do, right? So every textbook is just a stress for me. But since I think I have to take this process in order to get closer to the desire, I would take this kind of actions, right? And as I said earlier, this is something that don't really work for me. I have to be listening to the language. I have to be actually start using the language from the very beginning because that's more fun for me. These kind of actions are the ones you want to take to get closer to your desire, and the ones that really gives you this stress are not. Okay. Again, these actions are supported by your logical self, but only by your logical self, who knows way less than your higher self does. Also, the difference between the second action and the third action is really even after taking the action, you don't really feel good. You just feel stressed out. After, solving questions on the textbook, you know, it doesn't feel good. You just you just feel tired. Whereas the second type of action, you just feel so much better because, okay, I've done this, so I'm closer to the desire. Okay, and so that's the difference. And you can really feel the vibration behind these actions as well, right? So, yeah, let me also give you another example with all of these actions. Let's say you have a dream body shape that you want to be like. And inspired action is maybe starting researching about diet that you've never tried. And you don't really know why you want to do it. You don't really think that this action necessarily leads to your desire, but you just starts having interest toward this diet. And so you just do. And just finding a lot of new things are fun. Trying out new recipes are fun. And what is happening behind this is really you decided your desire, you decided where you're going, your identity shifted to the version of yourself having that thing, right? So it's so natural for you to just reaching out to certain information or start taking certain actions. Okay. Then let's say in the same exact situation, your logical self think that by going to the gym every day, you would have a better shape. After the workout, it just feels like, oh, I'm now one step closer to where I want to be. So by going to the gym, you're creating less resistance to actually be that body or have that body, right? And lastly, let's say you have a belief of like, oh, I have to be a vegan in order to get that shape, but you like meat. It's very stressful to just have only vegetables on your dishes. Of course, I know there are a lot of variety and there are a lot of like good vegan foods as well. I love vegan foods as well. But let's say this person think they have to have vegan diets in order to get the shape they want. So every meal it's stress. Every meal they feel depressed. Um, but they think they have to have the diet. They do. And you can see all this energy behind, like, oh, I really don't want to, but I have to do it in order to get that, right? Whereas other two actions are something like, oh, I really want to, or it feels good to be doing this because it creates less resistance to get whatever I want. Okay, so this would be another example. So what you can do after this video is again, look at what you want and write down the things that create less resistance to get closer to where you want to be, and the action that you really hate but you think you have to do to get the thing. And when writing down those actions, you can instantly tell which one is which. So do that work. And also, to be able to take the inspired actions and to be able to notice this is the inspired actions, you want to know how to stay aligned with yourself, how to get your higher self signal well. So you can go back and watch the power of alignment video if you need to. But yeah, that's what we can do. But yeah, this is the suggestion. We live in a physical world, physical reality. So even though this inner work is super duper important to change our belief so that we start reacting and treating the situations differently, and thus the reality changes, we need to move our body and do something as well. But depending on what kind of actions you take, the result can change. So start taking action consciously. Choose the actions that really is aligned with yourself. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.